Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that helps you make sense of information overload by distilling it down to the key insights. You asked us to tackle a big one today. The future of global mission.
It's a huge topic.
Yeah, it is. We've gone through articles, research, and this really interesting document, LiPo 15, The Future of Mission, Where Do We Go From Here.pdf.
Right, that PDF. Lots in there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So our goal, our mission for this deep dive, cut through all that complexity, give you a clear picture of how global mission is changing, the big forces shaping it, and, the new ways people are approaching it.
So basically a shortcut to getting up to speed.
Exactly. Ready to find out what the future might hold.
Let's do it. It's a fascinating time to this discussion, honestly. The whole idea of mission is sort of being looked at again because the world shifted so much.
Yeah.
We've got this long history, right?
Yeah.
And seeing how that legacy bumps up against today's world,
Yeah.
it's compelling.
Absolutely. That document we mentioned, it reminds you of the early days, those incredible journeys on what they called ancient roads.
Real pioneers.
Totally. Establishing churches, crossing borders. That groundwork was massive. But the document also says that traditional map is shifting, like really shifting. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, precisely. The old model was often, west to the rest.
Right.
But now, the center of gravity for Christianity, it's moving. It's increasingly in the global South Africa, Asia, Latin America.
Wow.
Yeah, these places, once seen mainly as, mission fields, they're now these incredibly vibrant hubs of Christian life.
So it's a huge shift.
It's fundamental.
Yeah.
Demographically, spiritually, it changes how you even think about mission now. It's not just about the numbers changing. The whole character, the direction of the global church is different.
Which leads to this critical point, right?
Yeah.
If the landscapes change that much, well, the methods have to change too.
Makes sense.
It's not about throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but finding that sweet spot. The document calls it where historical commitment informs modern practice.
I like that phrasing.
Yeah, me too. How do you take those core truths and, make them connect in today's world, which is just so diverse, so fast moving? This is where it gets really interesting.
It really does. And right at the heart of it all is this explosion, really, of Christianity in the global South.
Yeah.
Africa, Asia, Latin America, incredible growth. The energy, the sheer numbers, it's mostly moving south. And this isn't just like a statistic. It's fundamentally reshaping the world's religious map.
It feels like a genuine transformation. The document specifically mentions Latin America, this big shift from traditional Catholicism to Protestantism, especially Pentecostalism, which seems really dynamic there.
Pentecostalism is a major force.
What's driving that, do you think?
Well, there are several things. It's often a more personal, maybe more experiential kind of faith that connects with people. Plus, the community aspect is usually really strong in these newer movements. But another huge piece is the rise of indigenous Christian movements all across the global South.
So not just copies of Western churches.
Not at all. They're developing their own ways of expressing faith, rooted in their own cultures. The document mentions African indigenous churches. They blend Christian beliefs with local traditions in really creative ways. It makes worship unique, relevant. And we're also seeing new theological thinking coming from these different cultural viewpoints, adding layers to our understanding of Christianity.
So it's not just who is Christian changing, but how Christianity is lived out globally.
Exactly.
And it's fascinating that these regions are now sending missionaries too. Brazil sending people to the Middle East, the document says. That's a complete flip of the script, isn't it?
Absolutely. It used to be mostly a one-way street.
Yeah.
Now, it's multi-directional. And these missionaries from the global South, they often bring unique cultural insights, different approaches that can be super effective where maybe Western missionaries might struggle more.
Right, makes sense. Okay, so alongside this huge demographic change, we've got globalization, which the document paints as a double-edged sword. Great connections, but also potential problems.
That's a perfect way to put it. Globalization, with all the tech and travel making us more connected, has created these modern highways for ideas, for interaction, which can be amazing for sharing the gospel. But the document also warns about cultural homogenization. Local identities feeling swamped.
Leading to a crisis of identity.
Right, which raises a big question for mission.
Yeah.
How do you share a universal message but respect local cultures? How do you not accidentally steamroll them?
That's the tightrope walk, yeah. The document mentions contextualization versus syncretism, that fear that Christian beliefs get tangled up with other practices and the core message gets lost. How do you keep it authentic but still relevant?
It takes Real cultural intelligence,
Hmm.
sensitivity. You have to really understand the worldview you're engaging with. It's more than just translating words. It's about finding ways to communicate the gospel's truth that resonate culturally.
Got it.
But globalization also brings mission opportunities right to our doorstep, doesn't it?
Diaspora communities, you mean?
Exactly. Migration creates these diverse communities within countries that used to be maybe more homogenous. The document gives that example of African Christians revitalizing churches in Europe.
Right.
What's the significance there?
Well, it shows mission isn't just about going over there anymore. It's about engaging with the cultures right here in our own neighborhoods.
Hmm.
These diaspora groups often have such a vibrant faith, and they can build bridges for cross-cultural understanding locally.
Exactly. And their own experiences often give them unique ways to connect with people from similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
Maybe people who wouldn't respond as easily to, more traditional outreach.
Makes sense.
Okay, now, the document also pulls in geopolitics. You can't really talk about global mission without considering the bigger picture of global power shifts in politics.
Absolutely not. Rising powers, falling powers, political instability, this resurgence of nationalism you see everywhere. These aren't just abstract things. They directly impact mission work, the safety of people involved.
For sure.
The document mentions China's Belt and Road Initiative. How does something like that affect mission?
Well, big initiatives like that shift economic and political influence, often in regions that are already key areas for mission work.
Right.
So that can create both openings and new challenges, maybe new ways to engage, but also maybe new restrictions or the need for totally different strategies.
Yeah.
Mission groups have to stay aware of these big shifts.
And in places that are really unstable, the risks are just tragically real.
Yeah.
The document brings up the 1040 window. For anyone listening who doesn't know, what's that about?
Yeah, the 1040 window is this geographic rectangle, basically, covering parts of North Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. It's known for having a lot of unreached people groups communities with very little access to Christianity. And it's often marked by, well, political instability, conflict, restrictions on religion. It makes mission work incredibly difficult, often dangerous.
Wow. So navigating that takes incredible wisdom and sometimes, yeah, real courage. The document also mentions rising nationalism and protectionist policies squeezing the space for mission. How does that work?
Well, more nationalism often means tighter visa rules, more suspicion of foreign groups, limits on religious activities seen as foreign.
Right.
So missions might need to become more financially self-sufficient, rely more heavily on local partners, being adaptable, willing to work under more constraints. That becomes really key.
Which leads us pretty naturally, actually, to the tech revolution, the digital frontier.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's hard to overstate how much the internet, smartphones, social media have changed the landscape. The document calls digital platforms modern-day public squares. Powerful image.
It really is. And what's amazing is how essential these tools have become for outreach, for discipleship. Social media lets you build relationships across oceans. Mobile phones put information and communication tools in almost everyone's hands, even in remote places. Online learning makes theological training accessible globally.
Yeah.
The idea that your smartphone can be a powerful tool for evangelism, that's a game changer.
It really democratizes things, in a way. Unprecedented reach, flexibility, virtual church, online Bible studies, digital discipleship. It seems endless. Okay, so we have all these massive shifts. The global south rising, globalization's complexities, geopolitics, the digital wave. How are these things actually forging new ways of doing mission, new paradigms?
Yeah, these big trends are definitely sparking what the document calls emerging mission paradigms. There's a clear move away from models focused mainly on, say, just proclamation.
Just talking about it.
Right, towards something more holistic, more integrated.
If the document brings up integral mission, what's that look like?
Integral mission basically says the gospel is for the whole person, spirit, body, social life, emotions, everything.
Okay.
So sharing the good news can't be separated from acts of love, compassion, justice. It means tackling poverty, standing up to the marginalized, working for better systems, caring for the environment. Doing all that as you share the message of salvation. It's about showing God's kingdom in real, tangible ways.
So living it out just as much as speaking it makes total sense. Then there's business's mission. BAM. That sounds like a really creative mix.
It is fascinating. BAM is about intentionally using businesses for missional purposes.
So not just about profit.
Profit might be part of making it sustainable, but the goals are bigger. It's about creating businesses that drive economic development, provide jobs, promote ethical practices, build relationships.
Hmm.
And the business itself becomes a natural place for sharing faith, for transformation within the marketplace. Imagine entrepreneurs starting companies in underserved areas, creating jobs, but also living out their faith with employees, with the community.
That's a powerful model for lasting impact. And the third one mentioned is transformational development. How does that fit in?
Transformational development is really about the long game. It focuses on empowering local communities to tackle the root causes of their own
You're
problems.
right.
Building capacity from the inside out, encouraging self-reliance, aiming for holistic liberation. It's not just giving aid, it's partnering with communities to find solutions and build sustainable futures for themselves.
These paradigms, integral mission, BAM, transformational development, they really show this wider, deeper understanding of what mission can be. Okay, so how do these ideas translate into actual practice? What are the practical pathways, the innovations happening now?
Right, this is where, as they say, the rubber meets the road. And a huge piece of this is the growing focus on empowering local leadership, indigenous voices.
Yeah, the document stresses that.
And it's right. Local Christians just get their own culture in a way outsiders often can't. That understanding is priceless for effective mission.
It's recognizing mission shouldn't be this top-down, outside-in thing anymore.
It's exactly.
Investing in training local leaders, strengthening local churches that helps make sure the message feels authentic, really connects. The document even mentions specific training in things like missional ecclesiology, like what's the church's role in mission and cross-cultural communication?
Precisely. And linked closely to that is embracing digital discipleship, these hybrid models we talked about.
Right.
Technology gives incredible reach. So people are using virtual evangelism, online Bible studies, interactive prayer groups to connect with people they might never meet otherwise. It's about weaving digital tools into a strategy that might still include face-to-face stuff too.
Meeting people where they are, and yeah, increasingly that's online. The document also talks up collaborative networks, global partnerships. It sounds like mission today is less about lone rangers and more about teamwork.
Absolutely. Groups like the Lausanne Movement and tons of other global networks are crucial. They help people collaborate, share resources, share expertise, learn from different cultural viewpoints. It's recognizing we're all part of one global body, and working together makes everyone stronger.
Synergy, shared learning. Okay. And flexibility and commitment. The document mentions that too. Like, not everyone has to sign up for life.
Exactly. Recognizing the value of short-term missions, project-based work, it lets more people get involved.
Yeah.
And it gives organizations flexibility to respond quickly to specific needs as they pop up.
And for those really tough places where traditional mission is restricted, there's this idea of creative access strategies. What's that mean?
Yeah, these are really smart approaches. People use their professional skills, teaching, healthcare, business, tech, whatever, to get into countries where a missionary visa might be impossible.
Oh, I see.
They contribute through their job, build genuine relationships, and that creates natural openings to share their faith contextually.
That's a clever, ethical way to navigate tricky situations. And even just in evangelism itself, the document says we need innovation beyond just translating words.
Yes, it really emphasizes deep listening, building real relationships, engaging thoughtfully with how different people see the world.
Okay.
It highlights using storytelling narratives that resonate culturally and also using the arts. Theater, visual art, music, digital stories. These can be powerful ways to minister that connect on a deeper level.
And we definitely can't forget engaging younger generations. Gen Z, millennials. The document singles them out for digital mission. They're digital natives, often passionate about social justice.
Yeah, reaching them means adapting how we communicate,
Right.
being authentic, creating digital content that connects, and seriously engaging with the justice issues they care about. They're the future, right?
Yeah.
Future of the church, future of mission.
So we've covered the shifts, the trends, the practical innovations. What about the theological underpinnings? What guides all this?
Well, the document brings it back to a core truth. The gospel itself was always meant to cross cultural lines without destroying identities. Look at the early church people from all sorts of backgrounds.
Right.
It's a great example.
It circles back to that idea of contextualization, sharing the core message in ways that honor local culture but still transform lives. It's a fine line, but essential.
Absolutely. And interestingly, the theology of the end times eschatology often fuels the urgency and hope behind mission.
How so?
The document connects proclaiming the gospel globally to the coming of the end, referencing Matthew 24:14. The idea is that this understanding should drive us to act now with purpose, not just sit back and wait.
That's a powerful motivator. And finally, the document talks about the changing nature of the church itself from being mainly Western to being this truly global family.
Yeah, and that requires a real shift toward genuine partnership, mutual respect, learning from each other, Christians everywhere,
Yeah.
recognizing how rich and diverse the global church is, fostering collaboration where everyone's voice matters.
So ultimately, the call seems to be for churches, for individuals, to develop this deep missional mindset,
Hmm.
rooted in prayer, generosity, willing to adapt, but staying faithful.
That sums it up well.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, if you had to boil it down, what are the absolute key takeaways for people listening?
Wow, okay. We covered a lot, but I'd say first, the undeniable rise of the Global South. It's a powerhouse in Christianity now.
Right.
Second, globalization complex, offering opportunities but also real challenges. Third, geopolitics, you can't ignore the political realities. Fourth, technology is transforming how mission happens.
Right.
And finally, the absolute necessity of empowering local leaders and embracing these innovative, holistic approaches we discussed.
And it's clear this isn't just for specialists. The call to mission in some form is for every believer.
Absolutely.
It demands we're adaptable, faithful to the core message, and really cultivate that outward-looking missional mindset day to day.
Well said.
So here's a final thought for everyone to chew on. In this world that's always changing, how can you, with your unique gifts, your skills, your situation, how can you contribute to this enduring mission of sharing hope and truth? What might your part look like in this unfolding story? This deep dive, really, it's just a starting point for thinking about that. We hope you'll keep exploring these ideas in your own way.